Good day, YouTube. Topic of this video, more toys equal more work. Before I get started on that, let me share with you a shirt that I bought 10 years ago at a thrift shop in Hawaii when I was stationed in Hawaii. It is a 1981 Disneyland t-shirt. I don't wear it often. I did wear it to Disneyland when I went maybe 6 years ago or so. But I was in a meeting last week at work, and we were there early, about 15 minutes early. And there's an individual that I work with. He retired from the Air Force many years ago, almost 20 years ago. And I said, "Hey, John, how much longer before you want to retire from civil service?" He works for the Air Force as a civilian. And John is not his real name. Of course, I'm making that up for this video. And John said to me, "Well, I have a mortgage, I have a fifth wheel that I have to pay for, I have an ATV, all-terrain vehicle, think of it like a quad runner." And the list goes on, and I'm just talking to John, and I'm thinking to myself, you know, this guy's older than me too, 10 years older than me. I'm 44, so he's 54. And I was thinking, and I'm not judging him, I'm just thinking to myself, as I age, the older I get, the less that I want to have in debt. And to be honest with you, we don't have any debt. We do have one car payment, that's it. We owe about $5,000 on that car, and I don't think that we're gonna have that car much longer because we want to get something else, family car. So I was thinking to myself, all these toys, and this guy, he can't retire because he has to pay for all these toys. I wanna have the freedom to say, you know what, I have my pension, which I don't right now, but in the future, I'll have my pension or two, civil service, Air Force active duty, or Air Force Reserve, and I want to work because I want to. We're having some guests over tonight. My wife has a pie here. You never get to see what my life is like outside of work. And honestly, I had forgotten about the pie. The good thing is that's it right there. And when I'm done with this video, I have to put foil and cover it up. So I was going back to this topic, more toys equals more work. Like I said, I want to be able to work once I retire because I want to continue to work, not because I have to. What are toys that we may have in our lives? It could be a car payment. It could be a second car payment. It could be all the movie channels on the cable bill. The list goes on and on. And that's one of the things is I hope I don't come across as a cheapskate or somebody that's just focused on goals, because I'm not. I like to enjoy life. I like to do things and experiences, and I like to spend money as well. But for me, if I've already gone through that phase where I needed to have this toy or that toy. And let me just also say, there is nothing wrong with having toys. I prefer the toys that are completely paid off. We have a 1966 Ford pickup truck. It needs a lot of work. This year I did a lot of work to it. Not me, but took it to the shop for this or for that. Paid $1,000 for that. It's just all stock 1966 Ford F100 step-side pickup truck. We bought it in Alabama 16 years ago. And then we shipped it out here to Colorado. So it's always garaged. It runs good. It needs some makeup stuff as far as like paint, body work. It needs a few new things because the ones that are like the floor panels are completely rotted out. I can still cruise it, and I do. So little by little. I prefer a toy that is paid for, or toys that are paid for. And the reason I'm like that now is because of my experience 20 years ago when I joined the Air Force, and I was paying for toys that I no longer had, that I sold, that I lost, but I still had that payment. And on top of that, I was living paycheck to paycheck. So it's one of those things that experience, and I was newlywed in the Air Force. I was embarrassed because there were some things that I couldn't provide for my family, with the exception of a roof, food, and maybe going out to eat to dinner once a month. So that made me change the way I handle my finances. And like I said, there's nothing wrong with toys. Toys are good. We all spend money, but how do we spend money? How do you spend your money? And here's the thing, this morning, we have this small little TV here that we just have for something to listen to, not necessarily see it because it's a small one. We actually, that was bought at a yard sale. That one right there, that little TV. Bought at a yard sale for $20. My mother-in-law was visiting here one time, and they went out to a yard sale, and she came back with that. And we didn't use it for maybe a year, and now it's connected. It's $20, but it's a little flat screen. Off topic, I have a pretty odd sense of humor, which most likely you can't tell. But we had some people over many years ago when it was Alabama and Texas, the championship football game. And all I said to this family was like, we have a flat screen, come on over, we'll watch the game. Of course, we have a flat screen downstairs. But when they showed up, I was like, hey, what channel is the game on? Because I'm going to put the flat screen on. And they were looking at me like, you have to be kidding. And obviously I was. Going back to toys. I was watching a commercial this morning that said something like, no payment for 6 months. Come on in and get what you want. And that's unfortunately what I've seen when I was a financial counselor in the past. Many people get stuck with debt. So when I was a financial counselor, let's say I'm talking to a young couple, 25, 20 years old, 30 years old, and they are newlyweds, and they just rented their house or rented their apartment, and they said, we went out and bought some furniture. I said, okay, what'd you get? Because we're talking about finances, and they came to see me, and they said, we bought a living room set, a dining room set, a bedroom set, we bought this, we bought that. I was like, okay. And it turns out that because credit is so easily available, especially to service members, because businesses know that service members are going to get paid on the 1st and the 15th. Next thing you know, they have $8,000 in debt. And I don't like seeing that. I don't like seeing that for anybody, whether you're civilian, young, old, or military. $8,000 in debt. Let's go back to when I got married and I didn't have anything with my wife. Like she said in that video where we talked about we paid off our home last week, she said we started off with 6 pieces of luggage and a little boy, and that's absolutely true. And to be honest with you, I went back and tried to see if I can get this or that on credit, and they said no, because the lenders, because my credit was kind of shaky. That was embarrassing, but that was the best thing that could have happened, because I didn't want to go back into that cycle of debt that I was used to. So think about how you handle your expenses. I love talking about expenses. I had dinner with my wife last night and a friend who works at Peterson Air Force Base. She works at Airmen and Family Readiness Center. We used to work together. And I asked her, how are things going out there with people and finances and Air Force aid? And she said, it's pretty much the same story. And that is one of the things that the faces change, but the customer always comes in because they need help. And I used to help that individual or individuals. I loved helping them, but I would also try to pass along some nuggets, some ideas of what they can do different with their finances. So if they have an emergency, they can take care of that themselves. Now, if the emergency is $500 and they need assistance, my opinion is they're not doing something right. Because $500, if it's going to make or break us, we're not doing something right. Now, if the emergency is, let's just say $5,000, I will be more compassionate towards that individual because many people do not have $5,000 on the side, even though they should have an emergency fund. So, more toys equal more work. And I'm going to say this, if you're in a situation where you have a lot of toys that you're paying for right now, it's a done deal. We can't change what happened. However, we can change what we're doing right now, from now on, and what we're going to do starting tomorrow. Something different so we can pay off those toys and not get back into that cycle of debt. That's the topic. Hope you enjoyed it. It's time for me to go cover up that pie. Have a great day.